there, my name is Kelly Dale with offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel today because I'm going to be showing you a variation of a project that I did a year ago for a 2-drop peyote bracelet using the size 10 Matubo beads. So when I did that video, I had made some custom mixes that I gave out, honestly, just to some friends who beaded. And I was like, here, enjoy. I hope you like this mix, just to see what their feedback was. So one of my really dear grandmother figures in my life, Darlene, made a bracelet using that mix. And every time she wears it, I have total FOMO because I want that bracelet so bad. This mixture that I gave has 27 colors of size 10 Matubo beads, and so you can wear it with anything. It is so pretty, and I cannot wait for you guys to see the variation of this bracelet. So in addition to a mixture that I'm going to be using today, I have it available on my website. I'm also going to be using a Souda magnetic closure. These are made by the Beadsmith Company. It's in their their symbol findings collection. The thing I love about this magnetic closure is that number one, it's a super strong magnet, but number two, it has little tabs on the inside of each clasp. So when you click it, you hear it click together and there's no pulling it apart. Like if you just, you know, a lot of people don't like magnetic closures because they say, oh, it comes off easy or it gets caught on, you know, the shopping cart and then it comes off. There's no doing that with these because these are locked into place once you get them on. They are wonderful closures. Now, even though I'm using the Souda clasp, you can definitely use any type of clasp that you want for this project. In addition to the clasp and that bead mix, you will need 4 size 11 or size 15 seed beads, whatever you would like. And you're going to need a size 10 beading needle and a, well, you can use a 12 as well. Either one will work. And you're going to need your favorite thread. Any thread's going to work for this project. So I'm going to start out my project with 2 yards of thread onto my needle. You can add however much you're comfortable with, but let's go ahead and get our stuff set up and get started. So the 2 bracelets that you see here on the tray, these are the ones that I did in my video from a year ago. And you can see my mixture that I have ready to go. So I have my needle threaded with my comfortable length of thread. You can thread on a stop bead if you want to, but we're gonna leave about a 10-inch tail when we work. So to start, I'm going to pick up 8 of these beads. So 2, 4, 6, and 8. So I have 8 beads, 2, 4, 6, and 8. I'm going to bring these down again, leaving myself about a 10-inch tail thread. Here we go. And I've actually made myself a little mark there on my thread so I would know where that 10 inches was. Because I'm not going to put on a stop bead or anything because once I finish this row, it's just going to go back to being the same thing over and over and it'll hold the beads in place. So again, tail here, working thread here. I pick up 2 beads. I skip the last 2 beads I threaded on, and then I'm going to go through 2 beads. Hold those in place and pull. Now, the great thing is, because we're doing this fun little confetti mix, if your first row gets flipped or anything like that, it's okay because nobody's ever going to know. So you see they don't lay perfect like Delicas, but they will start to line up as we get them started. So you can see how that is going to lay. Now I'm going to thread on 2 beads. I'm going to skip 2 beads and then I'm going to go through 2 beads. So at this point, this is what we have started. The great thing is now we just pick up 2 beads And we're going to work back in the other direction, going through the 2 beads that we added in our previous row, which is these last 2 beads here. And then I thread on 2 beads, and I come through the 2 beads sticking up here at the very end. So each row now is only going to get 4 beads. So I pick up 2, working back the other direction, and I go through the last 2 I added, which are going to be these 2 right here. Thread on 2 and go through the last set of 2. So again, these are not going to perfectly sit in our little blocks like a delica would. But the more that you get added, the more it's going to even up and look really, really good. So I'm going to do just 1 or 2 more rows here just so you can get comfortable with the stitch. So we pick up 2 beads, working back this way. We go through the first 2 beads sticking up there. Thread on 2 beads. Come through the last 2 beads sticking up. So you can see I always put my fingers on the 2 beads that I'm coming through to keep everything tight as I work. So now I'm working back the other direction. Pick up 2 beads. Go through 2 beads. Pick up 2 beads, and you can see there that my stitching got loose. So all I have to do is grab a hold of these last 2 beads I put on and just pull it towards myself, so that way it tightens that back up. That's why it's helpful to put your finger on those 2 beads as you work. So I've got 2 beads, and now I go through these last 2 beads here on the end. 1 more row for you. So I pick up 2, come through 2, and then I pick up 2, and I come through 2. So you are going to continue this stitch until you have the desired length. The amount that you need to leave for your clasp is, your clasp is going to take up about 3/4 of an inch. So you'll want to make sure that you have enough beadwork minus your 3/4 of an inch. So when you start running out of thread and it's time to add new thread, it's really easy to do so. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my working thread where it is right now. And I'm going to go ahead and cut a new piece of thread. Now when I thread the needle onto this new piece of thread, I'm only going to pull the thread through the needle just a little bit. I'm only going to pull through about 1 inch. And I'll take the needle, and from where my tail is here, I'm going to go in through those beads that tail thread is coming out of. All right. And I'm going to pull it through about 6 inches or so. And then I'm going to start weaving this tail thread in, locking the thread into place. This is my new thread that I'm working with. And I'm locking that thread so that I can just keep working, because my new thread that I'm adding right now will already be in place and ready to go. So there's no possibility of me forgetting where I am at to start. So you can see I am just stitching through the beads in a back and forth motion. Now I'm going to pull this thread here. If it does not move, then I know that it is locked into place, and I can take my little zapper and, well, there we go. I can take my little zapper and I can get rid of that thread. Now I'm going to take my needle and put it back onto this short thread that I was working with. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this thread. I'm just going to start passing through the beads to lock this thread in place so that it does not come out and it does not come loose. You don't have to worry about putting any knots into this piece if you do it this way, because your thread, again, is locked into place. It's not going to come out. And I always hate putting knots into projects like this, because anywhere you put a knot, you are going to see where that knot is. I don't want to see that. So, and I know some of you are going to ask, my little thread zapper I'm using is actually one that I ordered on Amazon. It is by this company right here. I'm not even going to attempt to say the name of it. And it is a rechargeable zapper. And the head on the zapper is a stiff head. It's not flimsy and flimsy like some of the others. But this thing, I have had this since the 1st of June, and I've only charged it twice. And the second time, I'm not even sure it needed charging yet. I just went ahead and charged it. But again, I found it on Amazon. That's what I looked up, was that name right there. And it's very cool. So I'm just going to continue to go through adding the beads just like that. So once you have the length of your bracelet, then you're ready to attach the closure. And this is where your size 15 or your size 11 seed beads are going to come into play. Now, I did want to mention that I put out 8 grams of beads, and it will make about an 8-inch bracelet, not including the clasp. So it'll make about 8 inches of beadwork. So that is a really good thing. So you can see here, I'm exiting out of the very end of my bracelet. I'm going to take the needle. The first thing I'm going to do before I add either side is I'm going to check all 4 holes and make sure they are good to go, because sometimes you get one that's got a bad hole. So I'm going to check those first, and then I'm going to take the needle. Again, you see it's coming out this direction. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go through the end hole of one of my clasps in this direction. You're going to pick up 115 or 11, whatever you want to use, and come right back through the clasp again, and then through the beads to come out here on the other side. So you might be able to get through all the beads at once, but probably not. So you can see how that's just going to hang right there at the end. And then I'm just going to pass through the beads to come out at the very end. And then I'm going to go through the other hole on the same side of the clasp, so that now when I do that, my beadwork is completely centered in that clasp. I'm going to pick up either a 15 or an 11, whatever you want, and then come back through again. And at this point, it's connected, but what I do is I go through and I reinforce as many times as the clasp and the bead will allow me to pass the needle through. So sometimes that's 2 times, sometimes that's 3 times. Just depends on my size needle and my size thread that I'm working with. But I'm just going to pass through back and forth until I have reinforced. Each time passing through that little 15 or 11. And then once you're happy with the attachment, you can take and go ahead and start locking in the thread. And so what I like to do is I like to lock thread in on this side, and then I will pass through the beads to come out over here. I'll reinforce, and then I'll lock the beads over on this side as well. Like I said, it just depends on how many times you can get your needle through the clasp and through the bead. So it's a pretty tight pass. I think I'm only going to be able to get through this last pass through here. Yep. That's all I'm going to be able to get through. Because you can see I just cracked that bead. Darn it. Ugh. Oh, well. And I'm going to lock this in place. And I'm going to pass through the beads and get rid of a good bit of this excess thread. I would rather be safe than sorry. So once I am happy with the lock-in, then you can take and get rid of this thread. And then we're going to thread a needle onto the tail thread and do the exact same thing on the other side of the bracelet so that you'll have it completed. So I'm just going to zap my thread there to get that done. And now we connect here on the other side just like we added this side. So once you get that clasp attached, you can see what a really fun bracelet this is going to be to wear. And I mean, honestly, it works up pretty quickly, and I love not having to think about it, just being able to pick up random beads. So this will be a great gift for anybody on your list this upcoming Christmas season.